Hey everyone, Juan Huizar here, president of Sage Real Estate, your fourplex market leader and your highest rated apartment broker in the city of Long Beach. As you know, we're here looking after the independent mom and pop apartment owner. And so we want to cover everything Long Beach related that's going to impact the way that you own and manage your units. And so there's a lot of changes at the political level going on. There's folks that are running for the mayor position, and then there's other folks that are running at the city council level. Today, we're sitting down with Guillen. He's one of the strong candidates for District 3. And as we discussed in our past video, District 3 encompasses what we consider the most desirable parts of Long Beach. This would be Naples, Belmont Shore, part of Belmont Heights, Bluff Park. So consider some of our most beautiful coastal line is within this district, PCH in second. That is the geographic area that this district covers. Let's learn a little bit about Mark. Before we get into the interview and these questions that we have here prepared, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Mark Guillen, as you had said, and I've lived in the Long Beach area my whole life. So I was born and raised in Paramount, which is, we share a border with Long Beach. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very interesting because as I grew up, my father served as city councilman and mayor in the city of Paramount for almost 30 years. And so the reason I bring that up is because it's something that I observed, that when you live in a community, the goal is to be involved, make it a better place to live. Right. Not just to sit there and complain, but to do something about some of our issues. And so I was brought up that way. Okay. Now, up until now, I spent a lot of time serving in my community through nonprofits. Okay. And really, you know, focusing on issues that they focus on that make our city great. I'm serving on boards for at least 10 organizations here in Long Beach. So, you know, so I'm a Rotarian, you know, just rolled off of leadership there. But I'm also involved in the economic partnership, the museum, the symphony, Musica Angelica. I'm also involved at the college. So I'm on the board for the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Institute, and then I'm also on the board for the UCLEA Center for Ethical Leadership. Wow. So I do those as well. You know, I serve on EPIC. I serve on the JFCS, which is the Jewish Families Children's Services Board, you know, and many more. And, you know, it's not about how much I can do necessarily. Really, my point in sharing that is that there's a reason that I get asked to be on those boards, because I've demonstrated my service, because people respect the decisions that I make for them on their behalf, and that I'm fair and I listen. And so, you know, this is why oftentimes someone will approach me and say, hey, we really want you on our board. You know, and that's something that I've done for almost 10 years now. Yeah. And so, you know, now that the position is open in the 3rd District, I feel like those skills and those experiences will really help me to be, you know, the best city council member that I can be. Right.
You've been a long time Long Beach resident, super involved in the community. What is it that makes Long Beach such a great place to invest? Business owners, entrepreneurs, what is it that makes Long Beach such a special place?
Sure. So let's start by just talking about the significance of Long Beach to LA County. So for those of you who don't know, LA County is the largest county in the United States. And Long Beach is the 2nd largest city in LA County. So there's a significance to the role that we play in the larger region. And so that's very important. Interestingly enough, Long Beach sits on the outskirts of LA County. And so it really helps to make Long Beach feel like it's a very unique, set apart sort of city. And so, you know, this is why when you come from downtown LA into Long Beach, it feels so different. Right. So yeah, that's part of the reason why it's so special.
And then also, I think people who live in Long Beach, we feel separated from LA. I mean, we're kind of a standalone city. We're our own downtown, waterfront, and I almost don't feel a part of LA County, although we're under that umbrella. Right. So the people that we serve are real estate investors, folks that are developers that are looking to come to Long Beach. What direction would you tell us like that Long Beach is headed in?
Long Beach right now is going through a tremendous renaissance. There are many, many changes that are happening, developments that are you know, developing, and those developments sometimes are driving an economic corridor for the city. And so that's very exciting. Because you know, eventually, as we get to the end of our development, there will be additional unique corridors that will attract people into Long Beach to experience those corridors. And so, for instance, As many of you know, in the 3rd District, we had a corner at PCH and 2nd that was underutilized, underdeveloped. The city worked really hard on bringing development, 2nd and PCH, and now that corridor is absolutely thriving, which is driving additional development in that area because people now know that's a place to go, that's a place to shop, that's a place to eat. And so it's driving that local economy.
Right. So we're seeing growth all over Long Beach. And so now let's focus a little bit into District 3. So if we're looking at PCH and 2nd Street, and now some of the sites behind them, some of these, they're not even that dated retail centers. They've been sold. Tell us what you know of what's to come. Some of the folks in that area have told me, oh no, they're going to build lots of housing. Now, it's the most odd thing, Mark, is that we need housing, yet some people don't want that housing.
Of course.
So it's the most. Tell us what you know about those sites that surround PCH and 2nd Street, and what you know that might be coming there.
I'm really glad that you asked because in my job, my day job, I deal with what we call NIMBYs. Okay. Not in my backyard, right? And what we found out is that oftentimes it's necessary to bring education to the community so that they can understand what's really going on. Yeah. And so that's, first of all, that's what we'll need to do. But let's step back a little bit. We have a housing shortage here in Long Beach. I believe the number is we're about 29,000 units short of where we should be. Okay. And so, that's not going to get solved by one district. That's going to have to be a burden on all the districts to figure out what do they do to build more units for the city at large. Right. I mean, the 3rd District is great, like we talked about, but we have to remember that we're part of the larger city. Correct. So, PCH was fantastic. PCH will continue to be fantastic if it continues to draw in not just the neighbors and the people moving in, but also from outside of Long Beach. Right. And so, south of 2nd and PCH, where the old Whole Foods used to be, that's going to be, it's in talks and in development of a mixed-use property. Okay. So some housing and retail. And so, I think personally that that's great. I think that we need to do it responsibly. I think that we need the city needs to think about the impact of those things as far as traffic, as far as the utilities that are necessary to build on extra people. But I think that it can be done responsibly, and I think ultimately, when done responsibly, it will help that corridor to continue to thrive into the future. Right. I think also what's going to happen is that, we're fortunate in the 3rd in the way that we have these large properties that can be, upgraded, rethought, like the marketplace across the street from 2nd and PCH. Correct. For those of you who are familiar with the marketplace, there are many of those buildings that are empty. So I'm feeling very positive that as they responsibly build out the space south of 2nd and PCH, it will encourage the other property owners to think through what's the best use of my property. Right. And I think that's good for everyone. Right.
And that might possibly be another mixed-use opportunity where
possibly
you got commercial with the housing up top. Okay. Right. A lot of our clients, we've created here at Sage Real Estate, we've created a community where we're like looking after the independent mom and pop apartment owner. Right. So these aren't big companies. They didn't raise money to go buy lots of assets. They scraped up enough down payment to buy a property. They've owned it for 30 years. A couple years ago, they passed statewide rent control. And it's kind of been mounting, and where the perception is from these owners is that Long Beach is turning into a very anti-landlord city because they've been stacking the chips against them. Like, what are your thoughts behind what the perception might be?
Well, let me start out by saying that I do own rental properties. Okay. So I understand that plight of the property owner, certainly. But with that being said, and you, I'm sure, tell your viewers that owning property is the best way to build wealth.
Correct.
And so those have to go along. If restricted rents happen, then that ability to grow your wealth is going to be capped.
Correct.
The reality is that as a city in the whole, we need to not price out people from living here in Long Beach. So there's going to be a combination of what we should do. We'll continue to build, like for instance, in the 3rd District, that mixed use. I'm sure those won't be subsidized housing. That's going to be more of, apartments that, the elderly can move into, and, retirement areas and things.
Right.
Okay, so, but I do think we need to watch it. The reality is if you've watched, for instance, rent control, it hasn't been good for the communities that have fully embraced it. Correct. There have been many issues there. And so we have to really just, watch it and be fair, because one, we don't want to price out anybody from our neighborhoods, but also we want to continue to encourage property owners to continue to offer units for those who want to move into Long Beach or want to stay in Long Beach.
Right. The biggest issue that I see is when you're an owner and they're limiting the way that you own and manage your units, right? So sometimes they'll say, well, you can't raise the rent. And sometimes they'll say you can't do any evictions during this time. And so they really start taking these rights. And so what the owners, because these are the people that we serve, what they end up saying is, they've taken away my motivation to make this housing better. They've taken the motivation, because typically you'll make an investment, but you do, like anyone else, expects a return on that investment. But if they depleted that, I feel that we're going to end up with older housing stock where the owners, and I don't believe it's their fault, that they're not motivated to make those improvements.
Sure.
And so I think in a way, like you're saying, it's really a touchy subject, because what is the right answer?
Sure, exactly. I mean, I have the perfect example in one of my properties. So during the pandemic, I have a duplex that I wanted to do something with. Yeah. And so the reality is that I was having a hard time navigating through what I could and couldn't do during the pandemic. Yeah. So ultimately, I decided not to do anything.
Right.
Which is what you're talking about. Exactly. I mean, but, had I been able to do something or, decided to do something, I mean, as a property owner, I want to make sure that, I get a return in my investment. I'm bringing those up.
Right.
And so, like you said, it's either a motivator or a demotivator on, what you'll do with your property. Right. And ultimately, if we want to continue to attract people to Long Beach, not only to do commerce and support our businesses, but to move here and, have their property tax dollars go back to the city, we have to make sure that neighborhoods look good and stay looking good and get upgraded and, move to a good place where somebody will come into the neighborhood and say, hey, I want to buy here. I want to live here. Right. And I think that's ultimately the goal.
Exciting news, 2028. We have maybe, I think, 13 sports. Give us your thoughts on the implications of the Olympics coming here and what it's going to do to a city like ours.
What's great about the Olympics is just what you talked about. They choose a city, and the city has an opportunity to then invest in their infrastructure. Okay? And that's exactly what Long Beach is doing. Right. And that makes sense. Just for the future of Long Beach, is because, there's a reason to invest. Like you had said, when you invest and develop certain areas like, the pool or the pier, when the Olympics is gone, those assets, they stay here in Long Beach, right? So let's take the pool, for instance. The pool has been temporary. There's been a pause on rebuilding that building. Right. And so, we've reignited it now with the Olympics, which is fantastic. Now that facility is going to be quite amazing. So, it's going to be multiple pools. It will be, a larger footprint of area, which is fantastic. And it's for the Olympic competition. But when the Olympic goes away, there's going to be some great things that happen there. So, it is now going to become competition ready, which means that NCAA, it means the local high schools. It also means that instead of us having to travel somewhere to compete, now people will be coming in to Long Beach and they will compete. Which, when you think about it, you're having additional people come in from other places who will then go have dinner after the meet, who will shop locally, who those really ultimately benefit, and not for a short time, till the future, till those assets need to be rebuilt again. Right. And so I think it's a great idea. It's a great reason for us to invest in certain places here in Long Beach, and it's a great place to put Long Beach on the map again.
We're certainly excited. In fact, we recently sold a portfolio of properties around there, and that was kind of the buzz. It's, oh my gosh, we can see the pool from here.
Sure.
And so there was a lot of reasons to want to invest there. So, Mark, so we have over a dozen rocket companies that have decided to make Long Beach be their home.
Right.
So, these are massive companies. And so clearly if Long Beach was not business friendly, they wouldn't be coming here.
What an awesome thing to happen to Long Beach, right?
Yes.
But it didn't just happen in Long Beach.
Right.
It was a collaboration between the Economic Development Department, the university, and the property where they built office buildings for them.
Right.
And so, when all those things come together, you have Space Beach.
Yes.
And what ends up happening is people are now moving from LA into Long Beach, right? Which is helping to raise some prices. And also they're shopping locally, they spend locally, right?
Yes.
And that's fantastic. And now, I'm hearing from the president of the college that, the engineering department is impacted because they know that's the feeder to these awesome new companies. And so I think that, when you say, is Long Beach attractive to business? Well, like any city, we have to have the bones in order to attract. It's not just building buildings, near the airport. It's about having the infrastructure, like telecommunication infrastructure. We know how much data is being used and how the data demand is growing. It's growing by the business community. And when you tell them, hey, we have the most robust infrastructure in Long Beach, ready for 5G, ready to support your businesses, guess what? Businesses will want to come in.
Yeah. Mark, so you're running for City Council, District 3. What changes would you like to see in that district? So for the viewers tuning in, what is it that you're going to try to implement in that area?
Yeah, so it's a very exciting time. We've talked a lot about additional development, attracting people to Long Beach. These are exciting times.
Oh yeah,
they really are. And the goal is that everybody thrives. Okay, so that's going to be the goal for me. Is the reality is when I become elected in the 3rd, I'm not just representing the 3rd, although that's my primary focus. It's about contributing my opinion to the rest of the city. Now, what I'm looking for the 3rd, we have these great ideas of attracting, building out, but we still need our roads fixed. We still need our parks to be clean. We still need projects like the Colorado Lagoon project to be handheld so that it's done right.
Correct.
There are many things in the 3rd that contribute to the fantastic place it is to live, work, and play there. But we have to keep our eye on the prize. It's about providing the services that everybody wants and needs in our district and in our city, and making sure that the money that we allocate for that is spent wisely. And so I'm looking forward to that because I know we can get there. And I know that it's not only about getting there, but it's about making this just a super great place to live, even more so than it is now.
Mark, we can't thank you enough for joining us here today, answering some of these questions. We got a chance to learn more about you. One thing is to talk the talk, and the other thing is to walk the walk. And I think if anyone knows you personally, they know how involved you are, how much you care about the city. And we look forward to the upcoming race, and I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there you have it. That's the interview with Mark Guillen. We hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any ideas of future videos that you would like to see, please send me a message below.